There's a really good short story about a guy who definitely has some integrity. The guy's been dating this girl for 3 months, been having a good time, really likes her, but then finds out that she was the mean girl in high school and pulled a lot of really nasty stuff, a real bully, and appropriately is getting rid of her. And as typically bullies are and how people don't change, she loses her darn mind over this whole thing, and it's pretty darn funny. And I'll be going to go over here, guys, making the point that you got to have integrity and also be aware that people generally do not change. Some girl was a mean girl in high school or behaved in a negative way. The odds are she's not that different and will also, especially if she has no remorse for it, will channel that towards you when things don't work out. Title: My girlfriend told me about some mean pranks she played in high school. He says, so I, a 24-year-old male, have only known my current girlfriend, a 22-year-old female, for about 3 months, but we have great chemistry so far. So no, she's 22, so she was in high school not that long ago. A few days ago, we were talking about some stories we had from high school, and she told me about a weird kid in her school that her friends used to mess with. She used to pretend to be interested in him being his girlfriend, and then she'd embarrass him by getting him to do something humiliating or showing their private text to other people, or they set up some kind of elaborate prank on him. Well, that's really freaking mean. Now, it's one thing for her to tell this story and feel bad about it and say, yeah, I did those things. It was awful. I wish I could apologize. No, she's telling it in a way like it's funny. In the story she told me, she was on a quote-unquote date with him one night in the park, and she told him that she wanted him to take off his pants. After he did it, her friends came and took his pants, and everybody drove away, leaving him alone to walk home in his underwear. That is awful. You know, it's one thing if she did this to a guy who was like the high school player who would cheat on girls and was a real jerk and all that. That'd be kind of funny. But no, this is just some clueless guy they were picking on. That's awful. I hate bullies. She told me more stories, but you get the point. It made me sad, though, because I got the impression the guy might have been a little mentally disabled or something, because she said that after everything they do, he still wouldn't understand that she was in on all these pranks with her other friends. She either pretended it had nothing to do with her, or she'd make up some excuse, I guess, and she kept the kid falling for it. Well, clearly, this kid may not actually have mental issues. He could just be some dumb simp. But regardless, that's just cruel. She really thought it was funny, though, like she could barely contain herself while she was telling me this stuff. So she still thinks it's funny. She still thinks it's okay. I would have broken up with her right then and there, but I think this guy is just baffled because he didn't think this was who she was. It's been a few days and it's bothered me, so I figured I'd ask for some advice. I have a feeling this is a huge overreaction. It's just a strange feeling because she seemed incredibly sweet up to this point. But after telling me this story and the lack of remorse, it's difficult to look her the same way. It's not an overreaction. Your gut is your truth, and she is an asshole, and she ain't that sweet. A girl that did that type of thing and is still laughing about it ain't sweet. She's putting on an act, and she will turn that cruelty on you, just you watch, the second she feels that it's warranted. And if you think I'm wrong, well, let's see. I'm not perfect by any means, and I feel like I'm being a jerk for judging someone about something that happened in high school, but it still bothered me. Thanks for the advice. If she was apologetic about this and said she felt bad, that'd be different. No, she's laughing about it still like it's okay. Then you have a right to judge her. Now his update. He says, hey everyone. First off, I want to say thanks for all the advice you gave me originally. I asked the question thinking I was overreacting, but as I read some of your responses, especially from those who had traumatic experience themselves, it sort of knocked some sense into me, so I appreciate that. That being said, this was still pretty hard for me, even though we've only been together for 3 months. I know that sounds silly, but true. 3 months ain't shit. 3 months in high school seems like a long time because that's like, a third of the year. Typically, high school is like 9-10 months of the year. That's longer than when you're young. But when you're older, 3 months is nothing. I decided to take the advice of talking to her before breaking up with her. People wanted to know what the result was, so I'll briefly give you the gist of it. Now listen to this. Last night we hung out for a couple hours, and to be honest, we really had a great time together, and it was hard for me to even have this conversation at the end of it. I wanted to just move on and ignore the red flag, but I knew it shouldn't be ignored. No, this should not be ignored, brother. I brought up the kid she told me about again, but I did it very casually. Not like I was going to lecture her or something like that, so her guard was still down. She started laughing just at the mention of him. See? Exactly. She doesn't care that she was cruel to him. She casually told me another story of her friend's antics with him. I then asked her why they liked to mess with him so much. She paused for a second and then kind of giggled and said, I don't know, he was just a douchebag. No, 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 no. Guys that are gullible like that and what she describes, that's not douchebag. Guys that are douchebags are guys that are just typically assholes, but taking it to a whole different level. You know? Again, if this was a guy that really was a real true douchebag, a chatter tyrant in high school, and an asshole douchebag jock that would bully other people, and maybe they were getting revenge on him, that'd be different. But this is just a harmless guy they want to mess with because it makes them feel good about themselves. She's a bully. I asked, why was he a douchebag? Did he do something to you to make you mad at him? She said, not really. He was just so stupid and naive, it was annoying. That doesn't make him a douchebag, bitch. There was a pause because I don't really know how to follow up to the answer. Then she continued and said, exact words, he had no purpose. He was just there to make people laugh. Okay, Your Highness. Who the fuck does this bitch think she is? I'm going to guess this girl was obviously above average looks in high school. She clearly was and is a mean girl, those types. It really made me sad to hear that because I wanted there to be some explanation that reduced the cruelty of the situation. But there wasn't. I got kind of angry and I just told her that everything she told me was absolutely horrific, that she should think about how she would feel if somebody did these things to her. She doesn't care about that. I said that to torture an innocent person just because it's entertaining is a totally inhuman thing to do. And the fact that she still has the same mindset today shows how immature she is on top of it. She's immature, but mostly she's just cruel. She has no empathy. None at all. But then again, a lot don't have a lot of empathy. Now, how do you think she's going to respond to this? I'm normally not harsh like that, but it just came out. While I was talking, she gave me a look of total shock, like she thought I was joking or going insane or something like that. I told her I cannot continue a relationship with somebody like this, even though we had such a great time and thing up to this point. I actually had to convince her I was serious and not joking around. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. She thought the real reason I wanted to break up with her was this minor thing that happened a couple weeks ago. She couldn't believe that I was ending the relationship because of this. Once she knew I was serious, she got extremely angry, saying that I was just getting off on shaming her because I wanted to abuse her and I had no right to talk to her like that, and so on and so on. That's abuse. No, what she did to that guy in high school multiple times is abuse. And shaming her? Oh, maybe you could say that. But you know what? She should be shamed. And she should be ashamed of herself. But she's not. Because she's no different. She called me all kinds of names and said how she never liked me anyway and how I'm a loser, etc., etc. No, bitch, you're the fucking loser. You doing that to somebody else that was harmless and you're still laughing about it? But notice how she liked it. What happened to the sweet girl he was talking about? See, the second... I've known women like this, that you think that they're so fun and they're cool and they're sweet, and then boom, they can turn on you like that, like a light switch. But other than that, we parted ways smoothly. No, that's not smooth, dude. What are you talking about? I got some angry texts this morning, which I'm saving for a while just in case. So there it is. I honestly feel better already because I know it's for the better, especially considering her reaction. I figured I'd give you this update since everybody seemed pretty interested in the situation. Thanks again. Well, good for him. You know, he liked her and everything like that, but his gut was telling him this ain't right. And it wasn't right. She's a piece of garbage. I hate bullies. I've always hated bullies. You know, I've done things when I was young in elementary school, junior high, and I'll admit that I gave some guys, some dorks, a hard time a few times, and I feel terrible about it to this day. You know, there was this kid in the 6th grade that, you know, in elementary school that me and a couple buddies would kind of mess with. And in the lunchroom, the lunch lady made me sit next to him for a month just to make a point. And then later on, karma came my way when I went to junior high because people gave me a hard time, you know. And I feel bad to this day giving that guy a hard time, you know. So, yeah, I've done my share of stupid shit. And I've definitely picked on a few people when I was much younger. But karma came my way, and I got it from older kids when I went to like junior high and stuff like that. I had to fight my way out of it. And I've always felt bad up to this freaking day. In fact, I heard that kid became a minister. No joke. So I wish him, wherever he is out in the world, I am sorry. And I wish him well. But anyhow, you can't be like that. It's just wrong. And he had every right to do it and get rid of her like that. And see how quickly, boom, she turned on him? There you go. So anyhow, good for him. And again, really, a leopard doesn't change its spots and a tiger doesn't change its stripes. And she, I guarantee you, is now going to be doing everything she can to turn people against him. But hopefully people will see her for who she truly is.